Hey, do you want to know about how cartoons affect the life of children?
I'm ready!
Hello, and welcome to our Sociology project. Television! Whether you know it or not, we spend countless hours watching this thing.
Or rather, we used to. But TV has been a huge part of entertainment in our childhoods, at least. Especially cartoons.
Ah, cartoons. There are a lot of different kinds that satisfy different kinds of kids.
For example, action-adventure cartoons were big. These were the kind of cartoons we looked forward to watch on Sunday mornings. They included things like TMNT, Avatar, Sonic Sat-A-N, X-Men, and plenty of others.
They consisted with an epic story, filled with drama, suspense, and a whole lot of kicking butt. We always cheered for the heroes to beat the villains, but a lot of parents seem to worry about the violence in these specific shows. According to sociologists, children become more aggressive by watching entertainment that incorporates violence in it. Violence. This is going by the interaction sociological perspective, which believes that the mass media shapes a person in everyday social interaction. There's a lot of debate upon it, and there are differences between the kinds of violence that are in these shows.
For example, in the 1993 show Sonic Sat-A-N, a group of animal freedom fighters try to overthrow an evil overlord, Dr. Robotnik, who rules the world with an iron fist. This show wasn't violent like, say, X-Men, but it did resemble a war. The good guys were always struggling to make a difference, while the enemy made life terrible for everyone. They had to use violence for a peaceful world. They don't like it, but they didn't have a choice. Besides, can you imagine trying to peacefully talk with this guy?
Tell me, Snivelly, how did the hedgehog get past all my security?
On the other side of extremes.
You don't see cartoon violence like that anymore! Hey, that's violent too! Didn't they have censors back then?
These were the kind of cartoons that parents should be worried about. It's not that violence is necessarily bad in cartoons. It's the imitatable violence that people might be worried about. It's ironic. The violence in cartoons is the kind that the uptight parents probably grew up with in the first place.
According to the Academy of Child and Adolescent Psychiatry, children who view shows in which violence is very realistic, frequently repeated, or unpunished are more likely to imitate what they see.
So the children who grew up in the 1940s are probably more messed up than we are?
Pretty much. Moving right along. From looking at sociological studies, it takes more than a violent cartoon to make kids do dangerous stunts these days. According to them, it says that a bad childhood environment and circumstances, along with those cartoons and a few other things, cause children to repeat what they do or say to others. But enough of that debate. Moving right along there, darlings.
Where there are violent cartoons, there are also children's shows that are in the functionalist perspective. This perspective states that basically, a show is what it is. For the toddler to the kindergarten age group, their perspective includes programs like Barney, Blue's Clues, The Wiggles, and more. They all taught the same lessons like learning to share, looks don't matter, love everybody, do what you dream, etc. They do this in a way by presenting a world where there are no bad neighborhoods, everyone is friendly, you can talk to cartoons, and every problem can be fixed with the song.
Sit down in a thinking chair and think. Think. Cause when we use our minds, take a step at a time, we can do anything that we wanna do,
Although it's a good approach and these lessons should be taught, it fails to mention that life isn't always as easy as it is on these shows. With its sunshine and smiley faces everywhere, we look back with the fondness of our childhood, but it's a bummer to realize that life isn't as easy as it was when we were 5 years old.
Then, as we grow older, the functionalist perspective changes so slightly. Not to teach us what they have already been hammering in when we were that age, but to actually entertain us. With this, we get amazing shows like Animaniacs, Pinky and the Brain, DuckTales, Invader Zim, Freakazoid, and plenty more. Their type of comedy would consist of classic slapstick, a zany plot, and some clever jokes that the majority of society would understand at the time.
Tell me, Freakazoid, how did you know how to deactivate this 800 megaton nuclear warhead?
Simple. I read the instruction manual. See, you just raise the plunger to deactivate the warhead, and you push the plunger to reactivate it.
Hoo boy, that was about as stupid as me raising taxes.
Allow me to be the first one to say, ouch.
greatest references of our society is what we wanted to happen to Saddam Hussein.
People of Iraq.
You plunge into the fire and it's really hot. You have to stay forever whether you like it or not. Ladies now for eternity. Hope you're not too choosy about your company.
They knew just what to do or say to keep the American public entertained without hammering in a moral. Some of them didn't even have a purpose. They were just there to make us entertained.
Some of these jokes that they used to do are not as, what you would say, subtle. Cartoon censors are the people that says what stays in a cartoon and what gets banned. If there's a joke that seems too adult-like,
That's Uranus!
or there's a scene that seems too scary for the aimed audience, then the joke along with the cartoon is banned, and they have to go through a rewrite before trying to air on TV again. For the most part, they seem to do a good job, but they do make some mistakes.
For example, in the scene of Animaniacs, we see the Warners introducing a cartoon to everyone. The joke is that they say it'll be a special cartoon.
And what's so special about it? I'm not wearing any pants.
The character Wacko has never worn pants in the show, but him mentioning it seems to cause alarm to the censors who make them change it to this.
And what's so special about it? It's especially spinky.
This edit feels forced and doesn't make any sense.
On the other scale, they didn't edit this joke.
I found prints. No, fingerprints. I don't think so.
Wow. How did that slip by?
Censorship is a major problem because of the personal perspective of the censors themselves. They look into what they call offensive and completely miss what should have been censored in the first place. A few jokes here and there to widen the audience is just fine, but I think that everyone will agree that that one went a little too far.
Amen.
The stuff they're getting away with on kids shows these days.
It has been a debate along with movie buffs and producers on if the censors are doing a good job. While on some TV shows we are thankful for censorship, other TV shows show just what they think of them.
I'm the network censor, and I just want to assure our young viewers out there that no one was hurt in the previous scene. Including me.
But these shows have a variety of entertainment, and not just subtle jokes. One of the greatest things about these fundamentalist cartoons is that they subtly makes us want to learn. Hey Audrey, you wanted to learn this, right?
Yeah, you did!
United States, Canada, Mexico, Panama, Haiti, Jamaica, Peru.
You know a cartoon's doing something right when it makes you want to learn about geometry. The functionalist perspective didn't try to force down a moral, and doesn't necessarily have a plot, but the zany adventures that these cartoon characters experience is the main reason why this perspective is the most favored of the general public.
Which brings us to our last perspective, the conflict perspective. This kind of child programming shows how life will be unfair in the future. For example, you guys ever heard of the American Tail?
I remember an American Tail with the cute little baby mouse named Fievel who goes to America. I can't wait to see this adorable movie again.
This movie is about a little mouse who gets separated from his family and his journey to be reunited with him, while depressing us in the process. No joke here. Everything about this movie is depressing. He thinks he found his family, it turns out to be a kidnapper. He thinks he hears his father's violin, but it turns out to be a record. And no matter where he is, he just barely misses them.
Only by a little smidge.
Turn your head to the left, girl! Ah!
Although these cartoons stay away from the happy-go-lucky feeling that we receive from most cartoons, they do know how to grab our heartstrings and make us cheer for the main character. By suffering with them, we get to experience the joy he receives when he's finally reunited with his family.
5.
Turn around! Turn around! He's up there! He's up there! He's up there! He's up there!
Got me, Papa!
For crying out loud, just get together! They're doing me so much
These cartoons, although they show us what a depressing world we live in, they do wonders for teaching kids one thing. We should be thankful for what we have when we have it.
Amen.
That's right.
Cartoons, no matter how you look at it, they've been a huge part of our childhoods. It was fun watching them back then for laughs, and it's fun to watch them now for the little things that we might have missed growing up. If you haven't seen any of these cartoons that we showed you, you should, for they give a sense of nostalgia and can warm your heart no matter how old you are. I'm Wimberly.
And I'm Allie.
Mwah.
Good night, everybody!
Good night.
That's all, folks.
Good night.
Hi, Mom.
And we're bloopering.
Do you want to know how... Crap.
You want to know how I crap? Do you want to know how I crap? I'll tell you. Their type of comedy would consist of classic steps.
Where there are violent cartoons, there are children's shows that are in Did I spell? It's been a debate along with
Clear throat. Take 1100. That was not 1100. It's okay. Wacko's not wearing any pants, guys. It's okay. Don't freak out. It's just a library. People walk around with no pants all the time.
I am beginning to see why it takes so long to make these movies.